Zoe Greco, intuitive mentor, numerologist, and spiritual support system to women everywhere currently overthinking a text message.
Girl, just send it already.
She's been called too sensitive, too emotional, too much, and somehow turned it into a career.
God forbid women have hobbies.
Now she's helping you discover and develop your intuitive power to hop timelines into your dream life.
Higher Self Hotline. Oh, this one's for you.
From numerology forecasts to spiritual hot takes and definitely some oversharing, this is
Higher Self Hotline.
Your direct line to the divine. Hello, divine darlings, and welcome back to the Higher Self Hotline. I'm your host, Zoe Greco. Thank you so much for joining me today. And today's episode, not only are we bringing you our first guest of the season, but this guest just so happens to be one of my favorite people on the planet. I love getting to introduce you guys to practitioners that you may already know and love from the internet, but just kind of want a closer sneak peek into. I love bringing you people you've never heard of before, but most especially, I love bringing you people who are truly people that impact my personal life and my personal journey. Because if you're here, you resonate with me. And if you resonate with me, you will resonate with the people that I resonate with. And today I am bringing you none other than one of my very best friends and a practitioner that I truly deeply admire, Brittany Loeser. And let me tell you a little bit about Brittany Loeser. Brittany is a sacred rage and boundaries coach, a ceremonialist, and a guide for women who are ready to stop abandoning themselves and start claiming the power that is their birthright. She works with women who are ready to excavate their patriarchal conditioning, unearth their true desires, and become dangerously unapologetic. Can you guys already tell why I love her so much? Brittany, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I think by the end of this hour, people will see our friendship in action. They will understand us better, I hope. And one of the things I really love, I feel like when I bring people on the show that are really from my personal life, I get to be even more myself in this space for listeners to, experience as well. So, and you are someone that we talk about this often, like you really bring out the best in me. And I feel like I also bring out the best in you. And I feel like our friendship is just so profound and deep, has changed my life so much in the time that you've been in my orbit and my world. And I'm really, really excited for people to get to know you and fall in love with you the way that I love you.
You give me so much cuteness aggression. I'm like, I'm trying
How
not
do
to
I squeeze her?
I'm trying not to scream into my mic right now. Just like, I can't even stand it.
Sorry, Mike. Sorry for any screaming that we're doing. Well, Brittany, I would really love if you could help listeners understand your origin story. Help us sort of understand the girl behind the sacred rage and boundaries work. Like, what led you to this place and this position of service that you find yourself in now? I know your story is vast, but I'm excited to hear how you might package it for listeners.
God, yeah, that's a loaded story. I'm going to try and condense it to like the Cliff Notes version and just like pull in the most important parts. But essentially, most of my life, like truly from my earliest memories, I remember being cast as someone who is mean, who's bad, who's angry, bad influence. Growing up, I literally had other parents telling like groups of children not to be my friend because I was a bad influence. And maybe I was, honestly, like maybe I was, but I do not remember a time ever in my life where I was not cast in that way. And so I really developed this fundamental belief that I just was the bad guy. And along that ride, I started toying with different things. If anyone knows me, you know, I love to play in the range that is life. And I have been that way my whole life. A little side quest, but like, for example, when I was in high school, I think I tried on every archetype. One day I would show up in like cowboy boots and a big belt. The next day I'd be in like grungy camo pants. The next day I'd be in like a preppy Ralph Lauren sweater. So that's just who I've always been. And so the pendulum swung and I got into organized religion, Christianity, and it swung all the way to the other side for me. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to try really hard to be a good Christian girl. I'm going to be a good Christian woman. And really what that looked like for me was a lot of trying to fake it. It was a lot of masking. It was a lot of pushing down these big feelings that I had. And then when I got married, divorced now, but when I got married, I couldn't mask anymore. And I had to actually really face all of the reactivity that was living inside of me. This was a very challenging time. And honestly, I don't envy my ex-husband. That was probably not a very fun time for him either. But it was also a hard time for me because I was having this out-of-body experience where I was like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. I can cuss here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
Fuck on. Get your fuck on, girl.
Get your fuck on. Perfect. I remember thinking, I cannot willpower my way out of this. And I had been trying to willpower my way out of it for so long. And what I didn't understand, what I now understand that I didn't understand at the time, is I had a lot of stuff happening with my nervous system, with my mental health that was manifesting as anger and reactivity. And ultimately, the way I found that out is, I had been seeing therapists and seeing whatever, and I kept, maybe you have anxiety or maybe you have, and I was like, okay, whatever. None of this is helping me. And I kind of hit a point where I wasn't sleeping and I was having this crazy experience. I finally found a neurofeedback doctor. I got a QEEG brain scan and he was like, you have depression and PTSD. And I was like, what? I was like,
come again?
That doesn't really make sense to me because I was like, well, growing up, I had depression. I was again, like going back to all of my earliest memories, I struggled with my mental health from my earliest memories. And I always felt very alone in that. And what he explained to me was that depression is not only, it can, of course, manifest as helplessness, hopelessness, sadness, numbness, but it can also manifest as anger and reactivity and dysregulation. And that coupled with the PTSD, I was like, so I'm not crazy. There's like an actual reason for this.
And you're basically a ticking time bomb.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
With a lot of triggers, I imagine.
A lot of triggers, and not to like trauma dump on everyone listening to this, but like at this point in time, I had already, like, my dad had died. I had taken over his company the day after he died. I had gone through that whole thing. And then there was so much I had just stuffed down and hadn't given myself a chance to deal with. And I just like, I would have nightmares every night of people trying to kill me. It was crazy. And I just thought that was normal. Until I started getting the right treatment. And then I started sleeping and I stopped having nightmares and I stopped having as many like outbursts. And I was like, okay, there's something to this. But then fast forward. Okay, we're going to jump around here. I'm going to try not to make this too long-winded. I have had 6 concussions. The symptoms of a concussion manifest very similarly to the symptoms of PTSD. So I went through this treatment for my PTSD and I really healed so much. And then I got my 5th concussion, which was the worst concussion that I had. And it truly changed my life forever. Like that was like the beginning of my life, my new life as as I knew it. And also the end of a lot of things. And through that process, I had to learn different ways to deal with my reactivity because what the treatments I had done for my PTSD were not working to heal my brain injury. I mean, I was working with a dozen doctors. I was living in California, working with so many doctors. I was in different offices almost every single day, and I was working full time. I was doing everything in my power to heal and I just wasn't. I would get a little better and plateau, a little better and plateau. And I hit a breaking point where I was like, I literally just can't exist like this. I can't do it. If there is anything left to try, I'm willing. And that is when I got introduced to mushrooms. Yeah. So I started microdosing with mushrooms, and I within a week, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm still in here. Oh my God. It gave me hope I hadn't felt in over a year. I literally did not know if it was possible for me to feel like I was living inside of my body again. And I woke up one day and I was like, oh my God, I'm here. I'm here. And it wasn't like that every day after that, but it was like, that was enough for me to be like, I can do this. Like, there is something for me here. So I went on to sit in 2 ceremonies with mushrooms with a local medicine woman in California. I was working with my doctors, getting brain scans along the way, which is like really, really cool because we're bridging the science and the mystical, you know, and really there's so much evidence of healing my brain. You know, I went into the ceremonies with the intention of healing my brain, but I got so much more. It blew my world wide open. And that is when I like actually started working with my rage. And then everything started to transform for me.
I feel like the ownership of self, that moment of like, okay, she is in there and I know who she is, almost because there's been like this separation from her. Like you talked about these early stages of life where you tried on a lot of different identities, and it wasn't until you felt like you lost yourself completely that you, in rediscovering yourself, could maybe feel into like your truth and who you really are. Does that feel like it's an accurate reflection of what you just shared?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, there's that feeling that I think most of us either have experienced or maybe are experiencing, where it's like something's not quite right. And maybe I don't know what it is and I don't know how to find it, but I always felt like there was something missing. Like I'm like, I know there's got to be more to life than this, even though my life on paper looked really good.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, even just thinking like the you that I know, because I've known you post divorce, post concussions, post, like imagining good Christian girl Brittany, imagining like, I can't even imagine the person that you are, the magnitude of your selfhood being so confined and restricted into such an obedient identity, into such a led identity. Like you are the leader. But within organized religion, you know, we're told so much about how we're supposed to exist, how we're supposed to present. And then being inside of a marriage that was, you know, constructed inside of religion, like I can't imagine just the sheer magnitude of who you are being so reduced and condensed into such a small, neat package, because there's so much to you. And it feels like I'm curious, what did it feel like to find that self and kind of uncover her and realize that she had just been sort of dormant all this time?
Oh my God. I remember it so viscerally. So I did these 2 ceremonies about a month apart from one another. During the first ceremony, I started feeling something come alive within me, what I now know to be like my own feminine energy and life force. I had never even done like a little frilly dance. And I was doing a little frilly dance during my ceremony. And I was like, oh, that's new. Like, okay. And I remember after that it was like this unquenchable thirst for life and to experience and to connect. And I remember being like, my closet is all boring, neutral colors. Like, I need to wear a color. I need to have self-expression. I need my outsides to match my insides because I have unlocked a new layer of feeling and a new layer of being that I didn't even know was possible. And it's crazy because now I'm like a million more layers deeper into that. And every day I'm like, I didn't even know this was possible. Like, it's so amazing. But yeah, I remember I was taking myself to the farmer's market. I was like, I'm not waiting for anyone. Like, I'm just gonna experience the world and be in like the magic of the mystery. And it was like, that was the beginning of my life.
I love that the beginning of your life started at the farmer's market. I think this is also a really interesting point because you talk about your perspective that patriarchal conditioning lives in the body and not just in the mind. And I think a lot of women or just human beings in general, because I think patriarchy infects all of us, a lot of people don't even realize that it's happening to them, that this conditioning is taking place and like that it's lodging itself inside of them. So can you talk a little bit more to that perspective of like how patriarchal conditioning occupies itself in the body?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about anything like a thought, a feeling, if you swim upstream, all of that comes from the nervous system. Your nervous system informs how you feel. It informs how you think. It informs how your body and mind literally interprets the world. What is a threat? What is safe? How you navigate triggers. I mean, all of it comes from the nervous system. And so when we think about patriarchal conditioning, I mean, it's a loaded topic, right? There's like so big and vast. But if we actually just think about it for a second, it's like this has gone back hundreds of years. And there is evidence that has shown, they did like the tests with the, I'm going to butcher this. Somebody needs to fact check this. There was some tests.
Fact check.
Some tests with like rats or something where it's like, if you offer them a thing, like water from this thing, and then you shock them every time they drink it, and then they have children, the children won't go near that water hole or whatever.
Yes,
I completely butchered that, but you know what I'm saying.
No, I know exactly what you're referring to. I've seen that as well. Like it's implanted in their DNA on some level that there's like a programming.
Yes. And it's proven that happens. And so it's no different for us. We have generations. They call it generational trauma for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have generations of trauma and patriarchal conditioning and that it just lives in us. And we've all been complicit in it. Men, women, non-binary folks alike, like every single living being, well, mostly humans. I don't know about the rest of them. They're not really part of it, but all the humans have been complicit. And the only way we can actually move towards matriarchy and not live in a patriarchal society that's full of extraction, like that's really the root of patriarchy is extraction, is to do the work within ourselves. Like I can't do it for you. I can't do it for my mom. I can't do it for anyone else. But all I have to do is do it for myself. And if every single one of us was just doing the work for and of ourselves, the world would change overnight. And I think it is.
Ooh, can you tell me more about that? How do you feel the world changing?
I mean, if you look around, oh God, there's so many. Okay, I need to reel it in because I could go in a lot of directions here. I'm going to just tiny tangent with human design for a sec. So human design, we're moving from the cross of planning to the cross of sleeping phoenix. And essentially that's moving from this like cross of planning has been big government, big corporations, organized religion, basically outsourcing your power to something else so that they can tell you what to do. So you don't have to so they can create the safety for you. Well, like think about how rare it is that we're alive in this time where we're moving. If you didn't know, we're moving to the cross of sleeping phoenix in like 6 months.
Yeah.
It's at the beginning of 2027. It's going to come up fast. We talked about
this a little bit when the Day Luna Girls came on the show last season. Yeah.
So I won't spend too much time on it, but basically the cross of sleeping phoenix is this, it's like switching the video game. We're moving into a new operating system where it's all about sovereignty. It's all about autonomy. It's about taking our power back and finding it within ourselves. And that doesn't mean isolation. It actually means like organizing in small communities. It means rebelling from the system. The systems are going to crumble on their own. It's not going to be like a big, I mean, there are a lot of implosions and there is a lot of perceived instability right now because of all the shifts that are happening. But if we just look at like Gen Z, for example, which slight flex, I'm actually the first year of Gen Z. Did you know that?
You heard it here first, people. Brittany's a Gen Z leader.
I'm a Gen Z leader. I feel like a millennial, but I get to claim Gen Z. I'm young and hip and cool.
She's so young and hip, you guys.
But if we look at like, they're just opting out. They're like, work a job for 40 years? Fuck that. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm going to make TikTok videos. And then like, it's working. It's just this like, that's dumb. I'm not going to do that anymore. Why would we do it that way? Pass. And doing something else and choosing something else. And I think that in and of itself is not only indicative of the collective shift from Cross of Planning to Cross of Sleeping Phoenix, but it's also indicative of the work that is happening collectively to decondition patriarchy within ourselves.
I feel like there's this big conversation around matriarchy. We've been having it on the show a bit too. And I think there's so many people who just wildly, vastly misunderstand the term matriarchy. They have this idea that somehow it's the opposition of patriarchy, when in reality, matriarchy is humans first. It's community. It's, it's an operation system of like love, compassion, humanity. It's so grounded in truth and honesty. And I think part of like combating patriarchy on a large scale is also this idea that like we have to name the opposite and let people fear it. Like let people misunderstand the idea of matriarchy, like let people feel almost like afraid to swing so far in the other direction. Because I think that's part of what's going to help us define matriarchy in the new world and in the new earth. And one of the things you're saying that I find so important is this idea that ownership, right? Like ownership of each of our own individual journeys is what will make that happen. We talked on the podcast last week about how we're in this collective year one where one numerologically is quite individualistic, but if we can find the oneness in the one, like if we can operate on the vibration of unity in oneness versus the individualistic, like isolated, insular, like self-focused version of one, that's how the work gets done. But to that point, we do also have to take it to the individual scale to like do the individual work so that we can show up in oneness as a participant and like a conscious part of that. And this work that you do of kind of like help supporting people in deconditioning from that patriarchal programming, I think is a really big and important part of allowing us to move from the dysfunction into, at the very least, the exploration of what supports us in functioning more optimally.
Yeah. And if it's okay, I'd love to just touch on really quickly, like how that shows up, how the patriarchal conditioning shows up for women. And I'm going to speak particularly to women or those who identify as women. Like this is different for men and, like whatever. That's not my realm of expertise.
You work specifically with women and people who identify as women. Totally.
Yeah. So what I tend to see is, and why I work with rage specifically, is because patriarchal conditioning is so deeply related to how women access or don't access rage. And it's really rage and sadness. So if we think about like what has been acceptable in society for negative emotions for women, it's sadness. And then the inverse for men, right? Like what's acceptable for men is anger, which is why like, there's a lot of work happening to help men feel their feelings and like amazing. And for women, the conversation is happening more and more every single day about women's rage and sacred rage and more and more people doing that work. But I feel like when I started really leaning into talking about this and being like, oh, I'm supposed to help people with this thing. It was kind of interesting because I felt like it was like right at the turn where people started talking more and more about rage, but not a lot of people specialize in working with rage and boundaries. And that is like my gluten-free bread and butter. I can live there all day because it's changed my life so much and I see it change women's lives every day. So what this looks like, short version. Shows up in two ways. One is sort of the repressed.
I was just going to ask you about this. I love this. Take us there.
Amazing. So one is like the repressed anger archetype and the other is the reactive anger archetype. So the repressed anger archetype is like your typical people pleaser, if you will. You know, typically what I see is like these people, their nervous system default response, and you cannot control your nervous system response. Let's just make that really clear. We all have different things that shape us as individuals and our nervous systems. It's just how your body has learned how to keep you safe throughout your life. So no one is better or worse than the other. But this is typically more of like a freeze, fawn, collapse response of like, you know, I don't want to rock the boat. A lot of times when I work with these archetypes, they are often aware that they have some anger, but they're not able to access it. On a nervous system, fundamental nervous system level, it's not safe for them to access their anger. Now, on the reactive anger archetype side of things, that's where I came from. The default nervous system response is fight. So
I love to fight.
Yes, same. She's an Aries.
Yes,
she's an Aries, baby.
Put them up. Yeah, literally me.
Oh my God, that was so cute.
Fisticuffs, put them up. Yeah, literally me.
Oh my God, adorable. So on this side of things, what I actually tend to see is we are like, yeah, I can access my anger. That's fine. I'm fucking pissed. I'm angry. But that's not a healthy access to your anger. What tends to happen over there is like we're using anger as a protection mechanism. I love the phrase, rage is the icing on another emotion's cake. And the work for us is like creating the safety to actually feel the hurt and to feel the sadness and giving ourselves a healthy outlet for the rage. So it's not going to be directed at someone. And I think this is like people tend to have a hard time understanding this when I try to explain it. They're like, I'm so mad at my husband. And I'm like, yeah, you got to find an outlet to like express that and let it out. And they're like, he can't take it. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with him. He shouldn't be in the room. Tell him to leave the house, go somewhere else. Like I'm not telling anyone, go scream at the person you're mad at. I'm like, you need to find a safe space away from the person that you're feeling triggered or angry with and scream at the top of your lungs or punch a fucking something, pillow or I don't like punching pillows. It doesn't do anything for me, but I'm like, a punching bag is good. Break something, go to like one of those rage rooms.
I like to be in my car and put my hands on my steering wheel and like shake almost, you know, like jostle my steering wheel. And if I really need to, I like to give a little scream, like a little shout. Giving a little scream really just changes the game for me. And I've actually recently started doing this like mini scream. I don't even know if my microphone would pick it up, but like over the littlest stuff and just seeing what people's reactions are. So like we go to this pho place, I don't know, 3 times a week. We have for the last 13 years. We're so regular there. It's like concerning. And I order fresh coconuts and sometimes she doesn't have them. And so recently she didn't have one. And I literally looked at her and went, I was like, no! And people, like, obviously people turn around and look at me. And that was about as big as the scream was. I don't know, again, if the microphone's really picking that up. But
it did.
Like, I literally am just like, no, you know? and because it's so harmless, I'm not like doing it at anybody. I'm just doing it like at the situation. She literally kind of looked at me like, oh, like the sweet Vietnamese woman. Like, she's just like, oh. And it's not hurting anybody. And it really just makes me feel better. It's like a very condensed version of like a very harmless tantrum. And it just really like moves the energy. But I tell my clients all the time, because I'm a reactive type, have a tantrum. Like, please be my guest. I have all the room in the world for you to scream, shout, and let it all out. It's actually, and it has historically been, the clients who are more in like the freeze fawn category that I'm like, oh, you don't want to scream? I don't know how to help you. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, totally. And I just want to second that. I think we've all lost the art of a good tantrum, and it's so good and so healthy. But you're right. So I find it's harder for the people who are more repressed anger archetype, people pleasers, to start stepping in the direction of this work because it does feel really daunting. And that is the thing, is like everyone's nervous system is individual. The nervous system is also different on a day-to-day basis. And so my background and training in terms of the nervous system is in neurosomatics, so like applied neurology and somatic work. And so I actually learned, again, I'm really big on bridging the gap between the science and the mystical. And I think it's useful to have both and kind of necessary to have both, and in my humble opinion.
Yeah. According to Brittany. Yeah.
And so I've learned so much about the nervous system, right? So if I was to just say, like, based on my experience, everyone needs to scream and then you'll heal your rage. Like, that's stupid advice. That's dumb. That's actually harmful for being accurate. That's harmful advice, because if I were to tell someone whose nervous system response is a freeze or fawn or collapse, just scream. And they pushed through and screamed to try to like follow the directions.
I can already feel that in my body.
That would harm them. It would actually do far more harm than good, because what we have to do is like titrate the feelings. And so there's specific somatic tools that I work with my clients to implement to help create safety. And these look different for every person based on what their nervous system responds to. There's objective ways to test the state of the nervous system, which I think is really cool. The nervous system is changes in the nervous system happen instantaneously and can be measured based on muscle tension. So that's a really fun fact. So you can test a certain movement. Okay, what's my muscle tension? And then do a somatic exercise and retest and go, whoa, I have way more range of motion or way less range of motion. And then, I either responded positively or negatively to that somatic exercise.
We actually did that with you inside the container when you came in as a guest expert. And I was, first of all, amazed at what I felt in my own bodily changes, but just watching the group and their like sort of regained range of motion and each layer that you kind of took them deeper and deeper, that was a real-time realization. It was quite astounding and like really cool to watch in real time when you brought that forward for them.
It's really fascinating. And it's like, you don't have to be like, well, how do I feel? And try to figure it out. It's like, you just turn your head. Yeah, my nervous system liked that. No, it didn't. It takes the overthinking brain out of it. What we can do is find the sort of rescue drills, the tools that are going to be really safe for someone, have a positive nervous system response, and start training those. And that's how we actually train the nervous system. And so you can do those all throughout the day to just create more safety, but then you can also sandwich them. So it's like, if you're going to have a conversation that might be triggering, you can do a somatic tool right before and right after. And that's going to give you the tools, number one, to come back to your body and like really be able to come back from these experiences. And also you're then training the nervous system to create more safety around scenarios like that. So you'll have more capacity to navigate them as you move forward. And so this concept is very similar in all of the work that I do, whether it's like, a more gentle one-on-one session, or it's like a workshop, or like literally anything. We're always incorporating lots of different tools. The goal is never to blow past your capacity. It's to stay within your capacity and just gently push the edges and titrate what you can. You can't like manufacture an opening of a feeling like, I'm going to feel rage. Like, you have to create a space where it can arise. And then when it does, it's like, how can I go just half a step further there? Like, how can I just take one step more into that content, into that feeling that I've done, and create safety while doing it? Now, that also doesn't mean like we're trying to never feel uncomfortable feelings. But what we learn over time is how to be safe going, at like the biggest extent, how to be safe going all the way in to the thing, to the trigger, to like the whatever it is, feeling it to the fullest extent and having the safety and the tools to then come back. Because there's for a lot of us, this unconscious fear of like, well, if I go there, I'm going to get stuck and I won't know how to come back from it.
You know, that's so interesting to me because as a reactive type, yes, when I was more dysregulated, I definitely would go into like prolonged sort of like blackout rages, like truly blackout rages where you kind of come out of it and you're like, am I being insane right now? Like, am I screaming at people and like making no sense and like saying horrible things and like trying to pull cars off the road and like, what am I doing? Like, what is this? And it's those moments too where like you come into it like a little more consciously, but then got like sucked right back into it. So I had never really thought about that idea of like, oh, if I go there, I can't come back out. Because I think as I've regulated as a person, one of the things that I've actually gained a lot of fulfillment and like resilience from is letting myself go to those extreme places. Like not quite that extreme, not the blackout rages, but letting myself feel my feelings deeply. And it actually creates almost like this rubber band effect where like I get pulled back into my truth more quickly because I'm building this resilience that says like, let me express. And then I can come back to my like true north, which I've always felt a lot of compassion toward those who are in the more like repressed category because I didn't know for a long time how they could like find that same level of like relief and resilience. But something else that you're talking about sparks my next question for you, which is you're talking about like building this safety. And one of the things that I see so frequently and so often in my clients is as we build these, or maybe I should say, as we deconstruct the false self and we reinforce the true self, one of the things that we really, really need to support that work is boundaries. And I know this is something that you talk about extensively. You and I talk about boundaries extensively just as friends because, you know, I think about the repressed person and I think about how a lot of their inability to express themselves comes from fear, right? That like people pleasing sort of like, if I say how I'm truly feeling, what will happen? What will the consequence be? And when we build boundaries, we have like a better support system to reinforce and protect, like preserve the true self and kind of, you know, keep the other things out. But a lot of people struggle to understand what boundaries actually are, how to build them, and how to bring down their walls and replace them with boundaries. So I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So it's interesting because I think that the reactive archetypes think they're really good at boundaries.
Yeah.
Actually, we're just fucking bitches, okay?
We're bullies. We're bullies.
Yes. The unintegrated, yes. Before I thought, like, yeah, I'm good at boundaries because I'm not going to let anyone walk all over me. I was an asshole, okay? I was a fucking dick. Like, yeah. No wonder people didn't want to be my friend. Yeah.
No wonder it was so easy for people to just leave my life that I didn't like. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I think it's really important. I cannot emphasize this enough is like learning how to create the safety to go into the emotion is not the same thing as reacting at the person or the thing or the situation that's triggering you.
Say it again, baby. Say it again for the people in the back. Everyone, turn up your volume. Did you hear what Brittany just said?
It's not the same thing. We have to learn how to the way to have healthy integration of this. And I'm repeating this so much because I know as a reactive archetype, before I had healed this shit would have gone right over my head. I would have been like, nope, I'm good. I don't need help with boundaries. Okay. One of the biggest, and I'm going to talk to this from both ends, but one of the biggest things that I see, it's really challenging because people go like, okay, I want to set my boundaries. And then there's a pendulum swing. And now they're like out of control. And I first want to say, this is a normal part of the process. So have some grace for yourself. And also, that's not the path. Like, it might be a little blip on the path. It's a speed bump. That's fine. We're human. It's going to be that way. We're going to fuck it up. That's kind of my number one rule of everything is like, we're going to fuck it up because we're human. So let's just prepare for that and learn how to find grace. Yeah, learn how to find grace for ourselves and for others. So this is the other thing. When people are going, I need to start setting boundaries, I often see there is a bit of a loss for grace and curiosity of the other people's experiences in whatever they're navigating. Sometimes, yes, there needs to be hard boundaries and cutting people off and whatever. Most of the time, the onus is on you to actually set the boundary right. So what I mean by that is if you're a people pleaser and you're like, I don't want this person to do this thing, like in your mind, you're like, my boundary is this. And then let's just say, I'm like, what's a good example of this? Tangible example. In your mind, you're like, don't come within 10 feet of me. I have a 10-foot restraining order against you. But then you tell them, I don't want you to touch me. So in their mind, they're like, all right, well, I can stand right next to you and I'm not crossing a boundary. But in their mind, they're like, fuck you. Like, you're supposed to be 10 feet away from me. And it's like super confusing for everyone involved. And the biggest takeaway I have had from my many teachers and my life is that clear is kind. You cannot respond to information you do not have. And so as uncomfortable as it may be to accurately express how you're feeling and what you're desiring, it is the kindest thing you can possibly do. Because as someone who, like, for me, that's my biggest thing. I'm like, if I find out someone's harboring a resentment against me, I am so triggered. If they would have just come to me and said, this is what's happening. I need this, or this needs to change, or here's my experience. How's your experience? Let's talk about this. I can do that all day long. All day long. And I am so willing. And not everyone's willing. And that's a whole other cup of tea of like different podcast conversation to navigate. But for the people who are willing, like, we have to give each other the opportunity to actually meet the moment. And it's only a disservice to ourselves and everyone else if we don't. So I think that's a huge piece, is being extremely clear. Number one, be honest with yourself. You have to figure out how to be honest with yourself. And that's the hardest part for most people, is like, what's actually happening here? What do I want? And then show up with curiosity. So we lose so much curiosity. I have this conversation all the time in coaching conversations where people are like, I'm really frustrated by this thing, or I've asked this person 100 times. As I'm saying this, I'm realizing a situation I have in my life where I'm like, oh, I lost a little bit of curiosity. I should approach that differently. We lose the curiosity because we get caught up in our own frustration and resentment. And we just want to be like, why won't you do your fucking dishes? You know, like,
I think we also lose curiosity because we do a lot of supposing. We do a lot of like suppositions, like supposing on someone else's behalf. Like, I see with my clients a lot that they have a lot of anticipation and expectation about how someone's going to respond to them, or like the reaction, the consequence of like speaking up and sharing their boundary, when in reality, that is 99% of the time not how it actually takes place. So we lose curiosity. It also in this idea of like, deciding before it even happens how someone else is going to take it. Like we're just assuming on their behalf how they're going to show up to that experience. And I think you're absolutely right that the curiosity is one of the things that we need. I'm also hearing you talk a lot about specificity, but you also have talked a lot about, outside of this conversation, about the malleability of boundaries. Can we talk about that a little bit too?
yes. So boundaries are like, your skin is a boundary. It can shift. Your skin when you're 1 year old, like, your boundaries are different than when you're 30. It will shift, and it can go in lots of different directions in terms of bigger, smaller, taller, maybe shorter, like anything can happen. And I think it's just a really good example of like the fact that it's not like this set in stone thing. You're not going to like go to your journal and write out, here are my 15 boundaries. Boom. Everybody take that. Don't ever cross one of those. You can't be in my life if you don't.
These are my commandments.
Yes. That's not how it works. And I think like the thing about boundaries, right, is we have to remember is this is a two-way conversation. It's like, what am I desiring and what are you desiring, and where can we find common ground? Is there common ground to be found? And like at the end of the day, sometimes there's not, but there's generally a lot more layers of compassion and curiosity and conversation that should be happening that a lot of people lose when they shift into rigidity of, this is my boundary, so follow it. And I'm so guilty of this in the past. I have done this a lot. It's taken a lot of work to learn how to not be rigid and not have so many walls up. And I also think part of the blocker is we have this association that if we have curiosity and compassion for the other person's experience, our experience is somehow of lesser value. And I think if we all went into the conversation of like, how can I understand you better and your experience better? We're both going to get what we need. I'm going to be like, Zoe, I want to understand more about your experience in this. And then you're going to tell me, and then you're going to ask me the same question. And then I'm going to tell you. And guess what? We both now are being seen and heard, and we're being honest. And now we can find a common ground. Now, that takes 2 willing participants. But we have to try. Like, we have to give each other the opportunity and learn how to be safe within ourselves to not be met the way we want to be met, and learn how to navigate that so that we can then decide what we want to do with that. A boundary is not, here's what I want you to do. A boundary is navigating, how am I going to show up to this?
You know, when you came into the container as a guest expert, I got to see you work with my ladies in real time and do this work with them, you know, one-on-one, but in the group as well. And just seeing the way that each person's experience sort of like rippled out into the group as a whole, and seeing the places where, you know, even if the circumstances were different, the underlying experience was the same. And that conversation just like absolutely lit me up in the same way that I feel extremely lit up by the conversation we're currently having. And it's led us to kind of cooking something up for the people. I'm wondering if you think we should talk about it.
I think it's time. I think we should talk about it.
Okay. Well, this is the formal announcement of a little something that Brittany and I have been stirring up together in the kitchen behind the scenes called the Bitching Hour. Brittany, do you want to talk a little bit about who the Bitching Hour is for?
The Bitching Hour was born out of, honestly, it was after Zoe and I had this coaching conversation with her container. That's what you call it. Yeah. And it really materialized because we were like, there's something to not only, I mean, there's so many layers. Like, we were like, okay, we want to do this together forever. Like, obviously this is so fun, but there's really something to the conversation that people are having and desiring to have that isn't really happening in as many places as we want. So we created this container, the Bitching Hour, where we're really just helping you identify where you're outsourcing your power, and we're empowering you to break the rules and start living by your own.
Oof. It's basically 2 hours a week, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. You get to come and hang out with us completely for free. For 2 hours every single week for free, we are going to be live coaching you in real time around all the things that we hold, whether it's the rage and boundaries work, whether it's intuitive development, relational healing. Like, we have tools in our toolkit that when we come together, it just feels so much more emboldened and like empowered. There's something about like our powers combined that like I never get so as much joy in this work as I do when I'm tag teaming people with you. And we've kind of been like, you know, I think this is going to be a really fun exploration too, because I think the work that I do here, I'm pretty fucking honest. I'm pretty fucking real. But at the same time, my general approach to working with people is very gentle, but there's something about being with you that brings out the Aries energy in me and like the edginess in me.
She's a sassy girl.
I'm a sassy girl. Okay, you guys, she's Italian. And I feel like when we get to kind of get into this space and bitch slap people back to reality, it just feels so good. And so calling it the Bitching Hour just felt right. And one of the things that I think you and I, Brittany, are both really, really passionate about is power, like people feeling their power. You talk about helping women return to their power that is their birthright. I talk about supporting people in discovering and developing their innate intuitive power. Like power is something that I think you and I both have learned how to hold. We've learned how to hold our own power. And it's just the most fulfilling experience of my life to like really claim my power and not let anything or anyone take it away from me. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like that's really the crux of this offering, is like bringing people back to that sense of empowerment and handing it back to them.
Yes. And also, I'm just going to emphasize again, this is a free community where you're going to free. We're doing this out of servitude and the desire to actually help you and reach more people with this work and be able to like make a real change and also have fun doing it. I think that's a big thing.
Oh, we're going to giggle. Oh, we're going to giggle.
It's going to be a good time and maybe sometimes a hard time. And, you know, like we're going to face some stuff, but I really feel, yeah, I completely agree. I think this is in service of each and every one of us stepping into our personal sovereign power and learning how to live your most aligned life. And I also want to say, like, we have, you know, it's like the bitching hour and we're like, yeah, we're just going to bitch slap you on your highest timeline and whatever. But it's all with so much love. So don't be scared. We will only spank you if you ask for it.
We're all about consent, you guys. Consent and aftercare. And I feel like we are both very like maternal and tender in so many ways. Like this work, we do this work because we love, like this is a labor of love. But I think there's also, you know, this idea of letting people come, and I love calling it the bitching hour, which by the way, you guys, is a play on the witching hour if you didn't already get that. But like, I love it because it is so alchemical. Like the idea of expression, letting people share what they're feeling, share what they're thinking, like really feel into it and giving them the safe space to do that work, face it safely, process, integrate, and be able to actually implement change in their lives is huge. It's huge. So like Brittany was saying, it's free. Free Wednesdays at 10 a.m. If you guys want to join the community, go to zoegreco.com and look for the button that says the bitching hour, and you'll be able to join our free community on School. And that's where you'll find the links to the calls every week and all the logistical things. You'll get to even be a part of an active community where you guys can talk to each other and dialogue. This is a space to be shared. And you'll see there's some rules and regulations. Cause like, you know, if you're going to show up, you better show the fuck up and you better do your work and you better come and be prepared to hold space for other people too. But it's going to be extremely, extremely alchemical. So that actually kicks off, I believe, I forgot to look at the calendar, but I'm almost positive it kicks off 2 days from now, from the time that you guys are hearing this. Our first call is July 8th. So put it on your calendars, meet us there, go to zoegreco.com, click the bitching hour button to get all the info, to join the community, to make sure you're in. And in the meantime, Brittany, if people want to connect with you or learn more about you or even have a little bit of one-on-one time with you, because I know how precious that is, where can people find you? Where can they connect? And where can they begin to experience your magic?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram at Brittany Annette, and you can find me on my website, BrittanyLoeser.com. Just send me a message on Instagram. Honestly, like, connect with me there. We can chat. I do have, you know, I have on my website some info about coaching and stuff, but I also, I don't know, I don't update my website that much. I'm more active in the DMs. So I have, you know, longer term one-on-one coaching packages. I also have one-off sessions. I also am, again, coming back to kind of the like malleable boundaries thing. I customize stuff for people all the time based on a lot of different factors. So I want to find something that feels really good and feels like it's going to work for everyone. So if you're like, I feel like I need some kind of support, hit me up. Let's just have a conversation. Hopefully you can tell by my general demeanor and this conversation that like I am going to have an actual open conversation and meet you as a like person to person and not try to, I don't want to put you in a box the same way I don't want to be put in a box. So
that's actually one of my favorite things about you, Brittany. And I feel like, you know, you've also worked with me in like a position of leadership. Like you've supported me in growing my leadership skills and abilities. Like I've technically been a client of yours. And I feel like the thing that I love most is that it is so customized. It's so personalized. It's so tailored. Like you truly meet each individual person in the way that they need to be met. And the like overarching larger messaging that you like, you know, put into this world and that you share is like the bait that lures us in. But once we're in your world, we're held in such like divinely personal, intimate and like customized ways that it just feels so safe and so good. So everyone, you don't have to take my word for it. Connect with Brittany. We're going to have all her links in the show notes below. We'll also have the link in the show notes below to join the bitching hour. But Brittany, is there any last words of wisdom you want to leave our listeners with?
Oh my God, pressure. I don't know. I'm like, oh, this is, I can't be put on the spot like that. I'm just so excited. Honestly, like the thing I will say is join the bitching hour. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Join the bitching hour. There's literally no reason not to. It's a free community. I can't even, like, I'm actually kind of shocked at how generous we're being of like,
I know,
2 hours every single week. You can literally just show up and get coached by us. Like, why would you not do that? I don't know. And also, we're excited about it too. So
I can't wait. I feel like every time we host something extra in like the community, whether it's pajama party or something else, my container students always show up to those extra experiences as well. Even though they're at their group call every week, they talk to me as much as they want to. Like anytime you can get to be in the field and in the presence of people that can support you in expanding, show up, receive. Like we are here to give, let us give, and allow yourself to receive. Just come and try it out. You don't have to bear testimony your first time. You can bear witness. You can just show up and sneak in and feel into what it's all about. But I bless you. But I have a very strong feeling that you are going to receive exactly what you need if you find the courage to actually show up. Well, there you have it, blessed babes. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode. And I would love if we could take a moment to send this week's subject, Brittany Loeser, some love, sweetness, and positivity as she continues to support us in alchemizing our emotions, setting the boundaries that keep us safe, and moving us forward toward a more regulated and realized self. If you're interested in connecting with me, you guys know what to do. You know where to find me. All socials at the Zoe Greco, because I'm not just Zoe Greco, I'm the Zoe Greco. And of course, I want to conclude by reminding you that you are important, you matter, and you are perfect exactly as you are. I love you. Your spirit guides love you. Brittany Loeser loves you, and the universe loves you. So until next time, keep answering the call of your higher self. Bye, friends.